as you continue voting on or participating on that poll on whether you support this ban. I'll reintroduce my guest in studio once again. Benson Ocheng is an environmental lawyer, and Samuel Matonda is from the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us since 1 p.m. Let's start with some of the concerns that have been raised here by those who are participating on our poll question. What are the alternatives? I'll start with you, Benson.
Well, usually when one window closes, several others open. They say that with technology every time. When we were entering the world of computing, yes, people said, oh, people will lose jobs and all that kind of thing. And it actually turned out to be the opposite. So I think it is the case with the plastic ban. I mean, we know a number of industries, traditional in nature, that would thrive in that kind of environment. It just turned out that a lot of these industries were dying simply because people found plastics to be very handy, and of course they are produced in bulk, but unfortunately they have serious side effects. So we are thinking of baskets, for example, where people can do a lot of weaving using all sorts of materials found locally, including the water hyacinth that has infested Lake Victoria. So we should think broadly and just imagine the kind of opportunities that would have to flourish. And of course, one of the commentators said, yeah, let us think outside the box, because I believe that there should be options even within the industrial processes of those who are manufacturing plastic bags now. But my colleague is in the industry. I don't want to undermine this. A number of very important issues have been raised, that this should be a process. And of course, one then must ask, 6 months, was 6 months not enough? At least there was some step in that direction, that the person who put forward the Gazette notice realized that it is very important to give people time. And in my view, 6 months is adequate notice, and there was time to deal with some of these things. Of course, there are still outstanding questions here that up to the other day, if what Sam says is anything to go by, the forms that were required for applying for exemptions and for all those other issues that were envisaged have not been put in place. The vetting has not been done, and no one up to this point has been exempted. So we can imagine that there is definitely going to be a problem in terms of implementation. But I think the starting point is very important. The starting point is that we needed to draw a line, and we've drawn the line, and it is the good way to start. So we can deal with the other challenges that will come along. No one is praising NEMA or whoever is supposed to undertake this process for the moment, for those issues that have been raised. But we believe that there are challenges that can be surmounted if we put our heart and minds to it.
All right, Benson, let's hear it from the manufacturer. From today's briefing, the Principal Secretary said that about 40 manufacturers have been given a green light to get into the alternatives. So from your end, Samuel, what are these alternatives? And that 40 of the manufacturers have been given a green light, does this mean anything to the KAM?
Well, Lakisa, thank you. What I could say is that there are some alternatives which could work for some particular packaging, but as we've already said, is that it's not possible for you to use a material made of hyacinth, for example, to package some type of product like food or meat, for instance. So that we yet to get to know the details of those who have sought the alternatives. But I know there is an exhibition that is ongoing at KICC, and I'm yet to visit and see those alternatives. But from where I sit, I know that there's going to be a big challenge, because let's take an example of the Githeri man, the common mwananchi. We've been talking about the mama mboga, but now we can talk of the Githeri man. When he was pictured, he was having his meal that was served in a paper bag. And so when you're looking at the common mwananchi, how are they going to get alternatives to package their products with the plastic material which is not branded? When we say that manufacturers have been exempted, those who are doing formal manufacturing have been exempted, so that their plastics materials will be branded, so that they will be able to even have a brand of the user. What about the majority of the Kenyans who are also in in business, but they need packaging material because of the obvious reasons we've just mentioned. So that is the issue that we are looking at. Look again at the tree nurseries. I raised an issue of the tubers, the plastic tubes, which are used for planting trees and tea and coffee. And those ones, we don't have alternatives yet. One of the comments that we've received on Twitter, which you've read, is that this could have been a gradual process and there should have been humble time, because an investment of 80 billion shillings being converted into something else, because some of these manufacturing lines are dedicated for manufacturing of plastic materials. I've visited them, and they cannot be converted 100% to do different products which are alternatives for the packaging industry. That means that another immense capital should be absorbed by the manufacturers to set up other manufacturing facilities. That notwithstanding, I will say that there is a good indication from the Principal Secretary when he committed here on TV and said that yes, there are alternatives and that there are exemptions to some products. Those need to be. It came from him. It needs to be gazetted. I want to repeat that. And then the alternatives, we need to see for every product that is being packaged using plastic, do we have alternatives? I think that is what is the bone of contention, because I'm sure from where I sit, we do not have. Yes.
Benson, so after 28th, if you're found with what has been banned, what happens? What does the law say?
Well, that is where the rubber meets the road,
yes.
as they say.
Yeah.
One of the things that we have to grapple with is the question of implementation of a law like this. And we have always realized that if people are not prepared when a law is passed, it turns out to look very draconian. And people basically like an antelope caught in the headlights at night. And so one wants to be very careful to avoid a situation where this is going to be another means or window for corruption, because it will be very easy, and one supposes this is likely to happen, that people will be found with plastic bags. It is supposed that people will have got rid of plastic bags in their possession right now. I saw you asked a colleague of yours whether she had done that, and of course she cleverly ducked it somehow. And I'm sure all of us must be grappling with this one way or another. A colleague was just wondering what they are going to do with the packs of plastic bags in their houses. But that notwithstanding, the bottom line is that that would be the law. Of course, we are talking about public participation and awareness and all that. And to be fair to NEMA and to the government authorities, considerable effort has gone into making people aware that plastic bags are going to be banned from the 28th. Yeah. The media has done quite a lot of this, and this is part of the process of getting people to understand. And so somebody needs to commend KTN even for putting this as an issue for debate right now. But, of course, the bottom line then becomes, are people prepared to pay the hefty sums of money envisaged if you are caught with a plastic bag? That is one. And that is an issue of implementation. They say ignorance of the law is no defense. So people be prepared right now. The second thing is, who is going to enforce it? Is it the policeman? Is it the environmental inspector from NEMA who is going to conduct the prosecution? So those are the kind of challenges that we have to deal with. And one just wants to be careful to ensure that even along the process, it doesn't become too draconian in the way we are going to enforce it. Of course, the starting point of making a successful law is to enforce it, but we also will have to be alive to certain realities and be very sure that the process takes an organic form in which, one, we as a people should be very proactive to educate people to avoid plastic bags. It is not true that there are no alternatives to carrying all the kind of things that we carry on day-to-day business of life in plastic bags. Mbogas can be carried in a different way, including in baskets. Meat can be carried in tins or any other thing that is not a plastic bag or a flat bag. So I really don't subscribe to this idea that we are so wedded to the use of plastic bags that we don't have alternatives. Okay, what we need to ensure is that people know that this is banned and that we resort to alternatives.
All right. Samuel, I'll let you have the last word in this. With all these reservations you have about this ban as an association of manufacturers, what's the way forward for you? How are you going to work around this? Because the government has clearly stated that they're not going to extend this ban.
Okay, sir, thank you. I think what I wanted to clarify first is that we've been putting measures in place since before the ban, actually, and we've been supporting initiatives on cleaning up Kenya. And it's not that we are against the ban as a blanket as it is, but we are saying the option that we offered the government and we offered before the ban, that we need to have a sustainable waste management system. That is the only way to go, because I want to repeat that plastics just contribute about 5% of the total solid waste that is generated. What about the 95%? That's for another day. So what we are trying to say is that plastics are visible. And Ben said it. They are visible. It is a menace because they are seen. And the other wastes which are not visible, like the effluents, like the gas exhaust gases which come out, which maybe have lead, some of them, you realize that there is a lot that needs to be done. So that is why we've been actually advocating for a comprehensive waste management system, and that has been in progress. We even gave a proposal to the ministry. Said, I want to say that if whatever decision is upheld, then definitely we'll have many factories closing come Monday, that's for sure, and not factories which are manufacturing plastics only, but factories which are manufacturing food items, factories which are manufacturing other items, other products, because they rely on packaging material. And the requirement that was on the website is that there should be, the supplier should brand whatever product that they are going to sell out to the user or the packer, and both of them should bear the brands for traceability, which is important. For that to happen, if a manufacturer of plastic packaging material has 10 clients, they have to buy 10 new plates to ensure that those plates can be used to brand the users. That is one that can be done overnight. Two, that if the volumes are small for the users, then that means there will be a lot of talk on which quantities do we keep a lot of inventory. And since it is only a few days to that, and that communication came out this week, I'm for sure telling you that there's going to be a shutdown for many factories across, and the economy will be impacted. And definitely for those who do not have other business other than manufacturing the plastic packaging material, when they close, of course, there will be job losses, which is like from this discussions which have been seen, they are saying, no, don't worry about the 60,000 jobs lost directly, and don't worry about the informal sector, 600,000 jobs or 400,000 jobs, whatever it is, we'll create other jobs. How do you go for the 3 birds in the bush well, you have a bird with you that you treasure? Okay. So when we come to that, there is a lot of discussion that we need to agree on. But I think it's going to be a tall order, as I said, and it's going to be a challenge for industry.
And this is a conversation that we will definitely continue after Monday. We will have this conversation and see some of the effects of this particular ban. But gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me here in studio. Benson Ocheng is an environmental lawyer, and Samuel Matonda is from the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. And let's close this